might think that getting into the IT field is impossible without a computer science degree, but Tech Coach Ralph is here to prove you wrong. Get ready for some jaw-dropping revelations on how to break into this lucrative industry. Listen up, tech enthusiasts! Are you ready to break through into the IT field, but feel like you need a computer science degree to make it happen? Think again! Tech Coach Ralph has some exclusive, mind-blowing secrets to share with you. Get ready to be blown away by his jaw-dropping revelations on how to break into the tech industry without a computer science degree. So get your notepad ready, because Tech Coach Ralph is going to change your life forever. Buckle up, because you're about to embark on a journey to success in the IT field.
It's time!
Welcome back. Tonight, it is Tuesday, February 27th, 2024. We are back at it again for another Q&A night. Tech Q&A with yours truly. If you do not know who I am your host of the channel and of Q&A night. I am Tech Coach Ralph, where, as always, we are engineered to win. Everything we do, we have a focus, a dedication on engineering and on winning, whether we are doing QA, software development, mobile development, infrastructure, so many different things that we do here to give you different insight and stuff like that so that you can level up your technical career and skills because guess what? Your skills makes up your career. They make up your career, what you do on the job as well as off the job. And you can go and, the sky's the limit at that point. All right. So let's have some fun tonight. We're going to get into our questions. Notice I'm late. Sorry about that. I'm late, but we're going to go and jump into the show tonight. We're going to answer our questions. No long introduction. Well, at least before I come on, at least, right? But we're just gonna get into it, right? So before we're gonna do what we like to do. We're going to get into our agenda, do our little thank yous and our get the schedule out of the way and stuff like that, and then we're gonna get straight into the questions. I do have a meeting at 9:30 today, so it's a coaching call, right? So we're just gonna do what we do, and then I'm gonna jump off and I'm going to continue taking care of business. All right, so that is the plan that we're going to do. All right. So let me jump into our agenda, if you do not mind. All right. First and foremost, as always, I want to say a big thank you to all of the newest subscribers, as well as those who have been rocking with me for a very, very long time.
I appreciate you.
Yes, I do. You guys are absolutely amazing. The insight that I get from you guys and the recommendations and the feedback. It's totally awesome. All right. Next up, I want to say a big shout out to the Tech Barbarians. And we are doing some great things. We are learning so much. Imagine if you are looking to if you're already in the tech industry or you are looking to be in the tech industry and you want to, or especially for like maybe QA or software development, and you're looking to build experience because, hey, maybe you took a boot camp. Or maybe you took a Udemy course or a Coursera course, but you don't have that practical knowledge, that practical application. Well, come put those skills to use and try to figure it out. We work in a Scrum environment, Agile environment. We have our Scrum nights where we do our sprint reviews, our sprint retrospectives, as well as our planning for the next sprint. We use Jira, all that stuff, so you can get that experience that you so desperately, and when I say desperately, I mean desperately, you desperately need, right? From what I've seen, from the skill levels that I've seen from people reaching out to me, I'm like, I see what you're trying to do, but it's going to be really, really hard for you to get there. So I'm just trying to help you gain the necessary skills so that once you put that application in, those recruiters can say, I could work with that person. Like, they might be a good fit here. Because a lot of times they just read the first line of your objective or your summary, and they're like, next, and I don't want to hear that. So just trying to help you guys out. All right. So if you are looking for that type of coaching, for that type of help, for that type of mentorship, go and join the Tech Barbarians at www.techcoachralph.dev. The link is in the chat. It's pinned at the top of the chat as well as in the description of the video. All right. So if you need some help, some coaching, some mentorship, then I can help you, right? I can help you if that's what you're looking for. But the spots are limited, and once the spots fill up, then they fill up. All right. So just letting you know. All right. Next up, let's get into our live shows schedule for the channel. All right. So live shows. We have the morning show Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 7:15 a.m. Eastern Time. Coffee and Kata. We review some news to get the juices flowing, and then we start to work on our mobile development. Right now, we're learning Flutter, right? But we are writing some widget tests, which are similar to a unit test, but for the widgets, and we're making great progress with that. Once that's done, we're going to start to check some bugs that were reported, as well as add some additional features before we release the next test version, and then looking to actually go live with the MVP in the App Store, soon after we get everything cleaned up, looking to go live and have our first app published for the world to give us whatever feedback it is that they want to give us. They might love it, they might hate it, but hey, does it help us? Does it help me? Right? That's the number one concern. I built it for myself, and if it's able to help anybody else, then more power to it. All right. And that's how I see it, right? Like, I build it to help me, and if it's able to help others, then that's great. So join us in the mornings, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, 7:15 a.m. Coffee and Kata. We are working on mobile app development. Then we have our Sunday afternoons, software explorations. We are working through Terraform. As soon as we're done with Terraform, we are going to jump right over into DevOps. So hopefully we can finish that up soon. We've done a lot of Terraform, a lot of good stuff the past few weeks. So if you are looking to learn infrastructure as code, then mark your calendars for Sundays around 2:15, 2:30 Eastern Time, and we can have some fun. We go for about 2.5 to 3 hours working on this, trying to figure it out, having conversations, all that good stuff, right? So looking forward to see you on Sundays. Tuesday nights, tonight, we have our Q&A sessions. So you have questions, I have answers. I also have questions that you didn't even know that you had, right? So I'm trying to help you out, answer your questions, give you a different mindset, different perspective, all of that good stuff, right? So definitely looking forward to our conversations on Tuesday nights. Join me and the crew, and we can have great conversations. And then we have Thursday nights, more software explorations focused on QA, right? So this past Thursday, we were trying to get the Netflix safe test automation tool framework to work, but we ran into some issues that I'm still trying to figure it out. But we'll see what happens, right? And we're gonna just continue on that this Thursday before we go back to what we've been working on for the past few weeks, where we've been doing automation through Playwright, Cypress, and Selenium using TypeScript on Free Mind Recovery. So many things to explore. So join us on any of those days. The only day that we don't go live officially is Saturday, right? So there's something for everyone every single day. And then, now we're going to get into our pre-recorded content because we have so much live content. Let me just run through that one more time. Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, 7:15 a.m. Eastern Time, Coffee and Kata. We're doing news, and we are doing mobile app development. Sundays, software explorations, we are focused on Terraform, soon to be going straight into DevOps. And then Tuesday nights, we have our Q&A session. And then Thursday nights, we have software explorations focused on automation. All right. So that is where we are headed. Now, let's jump into our pre-recorded content, right? We have Mondays, Candid Conversations. Those candid conversations are so awesome. I listen back to it myself. I'm like, that's a good point, right? So definitely check out the candid conversations. Then we have Wednesdays, software explorations, concept and overviews. And then we have Fridays, the bug bite. This Wednesday, we're going to be focused on the governance of the GRC framework. So definitely want to tune in for that if you're interested in cybersecurity. I was interested in finding out more about GRC. And then once we're finished with GRC, we might get into like SOC analysts and stuff like that. So definitely tune in for that great information that I get to learn with you. So that is this Wednesday. And then Fridays, we have the Bug Bite. We are going to be reviewing the AT&T outage that happened last week, Thursday, early in the morning, to find out what happened. What was the cause? Was it a cybersecurity attack? Let's investigate that together. All right, friends? Okay. So, and then throughout the week, we have shorts and we have clips from the Q&A show that comes out Monday through Friday. So like I said, something here for everyone. So definitely want to tune in, lock in, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you can know every single time that we go live or drop new content every single day. You know, we don't miss. It's like clockwork. All right. So just wanted to get that out there. All right. Let's get to the chat real quick, right? Let's get to the chat. I got my guy Mitch in the chat. And let's give a cheer for Mitch as well. All right, Mitch, I'm just going to let you know right now. You have 4 words left for the rest of the day, all right? So, it says, what up? What up with you, Mitch? How are you doing tonight? So happy to have you here as always, always rocking with me, all right? So, and Angie D, I see your question. I will get to it. Once we start the Q&A part, I'm going to get to it. So just give me a little bit and I will definitely answer your question. All right. Okay. So real quick, before we get to the questions, I just want to give a shout out to Chaos Camp. I'm going to drop a link in the chat to Chaos Camp so that you can check it out and you can get some like practice. Like, because when Don created the Chaos Camp challenges, this is stuff that we deal with in real life in the day-to-day job. So you definitely want to try out some of those challenges. And if you have any trouble, right, ask us for come on the chat, ask for help, put an issue in the open something in the GitHub and ask for help, and we'll be more than happy to help you. I'll even create a whole live stream about it. So I've done some of these challenges, so don't threaten me with a good time. All right, so definitely check out the Chaos Camp GitHub. And the other thing I'm going to share with you is the Grammar Hub Discord, right? So Grammar Hub is, from my understanding, right? I've only been in there for a little bit over a month, but it's a nonprofit where they are helping you level up, getting the skills that you need to, so you might be taking a boot camp, you might be taking some online course, but that's not enough, right? So you join that Discord every Monday. They have a meeting at 6:30 p.m. Eastern time, right? Where you can learn. On one Monday, they can review your resume. On the next Monday, they can prepare you for interviews on the following Monday, and you can grow your network, your LinkedIn contacts, and meet with people. They do mock interviews and stuff like that. You can get put on a project to build some more experience. So much good stuff. So I'm just gonna drop the link in the chat for Grammar Hub. And join that Discord, and they're gonna help you level up. All right. So, all right. Now, the last thing I'm gonna talk about before we get started is, so I named the stream at the last minute push through, right? Because there can be many challenges and many changes that happen in life that are very they're out of your control, right? Totally out of your control. And it's like, what do you do? What do you do? Right? You have to push through, right? There is you cannot allow anything or anyone to have control or impact over your life to that extent where it's like messing with you, right? So you have to push through. You have to make the decisions that's going to be in your best interest. And whenever you hear I am a big person on stoicism and stuff like that, right? You can't let things phase you. It's not saying that you don't have emotions, but you can't let those emotions control you, right? Exactly, Mitch. Keep swimming. You can't let those emotions control you. You just have to you see the things that happen, and you're like, all right, you adjust. You know, you make adjustments. One of the things that I always remember that like Jocko Willink says is prioritize and execute. Right, just got to continue to prioritize and execute, and let the chips fall where they may. You know, so just just sharing that, and at the end of the day, you'll figure it out, and you're gonna win, right? So, and I'm all about winning. So, if you're about winning, then this is the channel for you. And we do not quit, we don't miss, and we just keep going. All right. So, shout out to that. Like I said, always remember to push through. Okay. All right, we are going to get to the questions for tonight. All right. So I do have the link to if you want to call in. It is make sure is it pinned? Wait, is it pinned? Hold on. I thought I pinned it. If not, I can do that. Let me see. Oh, it's not pinned. All right, hold on. Let me pin the link to the top of the chat. So if anyone does want to call in, you don't have to be on camera, but you can have a conversation. Your voice will be on, right? You can have a conversation with me, but you don't have to be on camera if you don't want to be. Actually, I'm not even going to put anybody on camera because I don't have it set up to be on camera. So let's go with. Let's try this. How can I? Give me a second. All right, there we go. There we go. All right. The link is in the chat. It's also pinned to the top. So if you want to call in and ask me a question, feel free. So the format that we're going to go with, we're going to put the timer up. We're going to have 5 minutes per question. And then answer your questions and go from there. Okay. So I have my list of questions. If you have a question in the chat gets priority. So as soon as if I'm answering a question and there comes one in the chat, as soon as that's done, I will answer the question in the chat. So we will be starting off with Angie's question and go from there. Okay. So let's put the timer up. And let's put 5 and pause. All right. Cool. Let's go to. So before we get started, if you haven't done so yet, do me a big favor. Like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you can know every single time that we go live. And if you need one-on-one coaching, go ahead and check out the Patreon at www.techcoachralph.dev. All right. So let's get started. Let's go. Let's rumble.
Another one.
All right. So our very first question comes from the chat right and early. It's from Angie D. Angie D says, should I quit my job, focus on getting Python automation classes completed, and work on my resume, apply for a job? I don't have debt and a good emergency fund. Is so hard working full-time and taking boot camp courses. Okay, so that is a good question. And it's great that you don't have debt and you have a good emergency fund. I was helping someone who did what you're asking, and it didn't go very well for them, right? Especially, and why didn't it go very well? Because from what I've seen from most people, start the timer. What I've seen from most people is that when they go to a boot camp, they think that they're going to get a job right away, and it's a lot longer than they expect. So I would never recommend someone quit their job. I know that it's hard working full time and taking the boot camp course. One thing that I would recommend though, before you go, because I think quitting the job is drastic, even if you don't have debt, which is amazing. So, let's. that definitely deserves a round of applause because like when I'm doing the news shows in the morning and you have like the debt is like in the trillions, like the credit card debt. So that's amazing that you don't have any debt, right? But and it's good that you have a good emergency fund. But the thing that happens is like it starts to run out very very fast. Just with bills and stuff like that. I would say I don't know what you do on your day to day job. If you don't mind sharing, I'd be happy to give some more insight on that. But I would say before you go and quit your job, right? I would recommend that you check your calendar and stuff like that to see how you could organize your time. Because a lot of times the reason that we don't have the time is because we don't properly organize it, right? And that makes us want, okay, like, oh, I'll get some more time if I quit and everything like that. One of the reasons I also tell people not to quit their jobs when they are trying to transition and stuff like that is because at times you can be able to leverage the job that you're working, depending on what it is, to also transition to maybe whether it's outside of the company, but a lot of times because the company that you're working for, they know you, they might have openings and stuff like that. You can try to transition within that company, depending on what the job might be, right? Um, and Mitch has a good question. Like, can you can you take off some days, maybe even maybe every month? That's another possibility as well. You know, but I can't recommend because I see it every single day. Like people who are working and they finish boot camps and they're putting in applications. Like if you saw some of my earlier videos when I was giving the stats of what boot camps require for you just to be able to qualify for a refund. And this is people who like they've gone through the boot camps and stuff like that. I'll tell you this. For one of the boot camps, right? For the first 6 months, you need to have 400 applications a month, right? About 100 a week. And then after the first 6 months of that, then they drop it down to like 200 a month. So in total, it's like 3,500 applications in order for you to be able to qualify for a refund. And they're going to do their best not to give you that refund. So I'm always like, I can't, and from what I see on a day-to-day basis, and from all the people who reach out to me, I couldn't say to just quit your job because you might think it's going to be, 3 months, I'll get a job in QA. Well, you have a lot of competition out there because not only you have because I can only imagine if you're taking one of those popular online boot camps and stuff like that, you're probably in a cohort of people with, I don't know, maybe 20 people and they're cycling them in. They want the same job that you do, right? They want the same exact job that you do. So it makes it a lot tougher for you to compete. And then especially like, let's say there's layoffs that are happening because every single day you're hearing this company getting laying off people. The CEO of Wayfair just said, hey, it was actually a good thing that we laid off a bunch of people, right? Talking about when you should keep your mouth shut, right? But that's the thing that happens. So that's why I'm always hesitant. And Angie followed up and said, is in a tech associate consultant for SaaS, but low salary and QA roles are overseas. So you see, you're in a tech associate consultant role. So that's the part that I would be hesitant to leave a job that you're in the tech industry. Although the QA jobs might be overseas, but just being in the tech company as it is, it puts you in some sort of an advantage for against the people who are totally transitioning from somewhere else. So being that and if you can make your resume, like spice up your resume to show like all the things that you do as a tech consultant and stuff like that, then it's going to help you like while you're working and you're trying to transition. Because like if I get a resume and I see, okay, this person is a tech associate consultant for a SaaS company, which means like you know a little something, and now you went to school for QA and stuff like that, even if it's a boot camp, right? It helps a little bit more than someone who is transitioning from a totally different field and all they have is on their resume is some boot camp that they did. So I think you just have to be able to leverage everything. I would say start off with your calendar Like I always tell people, put everything on your calendar. I have an interview that's coming out soon, but I was talking about like on my calendar, I have the time that I sleep. Like I have my sleep scheduled, I have my eating time scheduled, I have like my family time scheduled, I have my work time scheduled, I have my live stream time scheduled, I have the times that I create content scheduled. I have my meetings scheduled. Like, people just drop meetings on my calendar based on my availability. So I'm just saying that you need to plan everything out. You need to, and then once you start using your calendar, you're gonna start seeing slots that are available. And if you still don't have any time at that point, then you can start thinking about, for then I'd go to maybe what Mitch is saying, like, hey, take some days off every month. I was listening to a show the other day, and someone was saying like, they try to take a Friday or every other Friday or something like that off, right? So you have to see what works for you. But I would say that would be my last recommendation, even if you are debt free, which is awesome. I'll say that's the last thing I would say is go out and quit your job, because especially trying to transition to QA, it is very, very hard. And we're probably going to answer some questions about that as we go on into the show. So just wanted to put that out there. But great question, and so happy to have you here. And we are going to wrap that question up. But if you have any more questions, Angie, do not hesitate to ask. And we have my guy in the chat. Don says, hello, I'm new. Just subscribed. Yeah, we know Don. We know who you are, Don. Shout out to Don as always. Where's my sound for Don?
I appreciate you.
I gotta get a special sound for Don, to be honest, because it can't only be good guy. So we got that, and Mitch says, "Dang, you living like Shannon Sharp over there. Everything scheduled. Yes, everything is scheduled. You gotta maximize your time, right? You gotta maximize your time. And we got my training partner in the chat. We got Tony. He says, what up, Tony? What up, Tony? So good to have you here." And Tony's laughing because of the Wayfair comment that I made. He knows the Wayfair CEO personally. They actually are fishing buddies, right? So, just throwing that out there. Sorry to put your business out there, Tony, but you guys are fishing buddies. Now the world knows, all right? All right, let's get to our next question of the night. Where are we at? Okay, here we go. So, this question kind of goes in line with with Angie's question, and it is a hard question to answer, but let's get to it. Not a hard question, but a tough question to answer.
Another one.
So this question asks, is QA software testing still worth pursuing? For context, I work at a local company in the Philippines and currently work as an IT application specialist for almost 3 years. My day-to-day work handle SAP and end user concerns via a ticketing tool. I'm planning on switching paths to QA software testing. However, I'm torn whether to pursue software testing or stay with my current line of work. What do you do? What do you do? What do you do? I'm currently planning on. Oh, I read that part. Oh, Jesus Christ. Look at this. I need your input if QA/software testing would still be in demand despite the integration or new trends with AI, and whether I should go with switching career paths. So let me fix this real quick, right? AI will either be your friend or will be your greatest enemy, right? It'll be your best friend or or your greatest enemy, your greatest adversary. And it's not the fault of AI. It's your fault, right? You, yes, you. Your fault, right? Why is it your fault? Well, the reason that it's your fault is because if you don't embrace it and if you don't go out there and you learn new skills, learn how to use the newest and the latest tools that are coming out, then you will continuously be behind, right? Oh my goodness, where's good guy when I need him? All right. So yes, you will continuously be behind, right? I have yet to see how AI is going to replace QA automation engineers, right? I did not say manual testers because guess what? They're already replaced, right? And from everything that I've seen, right? AI helps enhance the quality of your work that you're doing if you know how to use it correctly, right? One of the challenges on Chaos Camp, right? Shout out to Don in the chat. And Don, if you want to call in and you want to hang out with me on the chat, well, I have to find a way to put you on camera, but I can figure that out, right? It's not a big deal. But if you want to call in, I am more than happy to bring you up. But yeah, anyways, like I was saying, it's all about how you use it, right? And if you don't know how to use AI, then it's not gonna like it will replace your job, but you could be the person using AI to make your job better and to do more, right? I sent a super chat today on the Millionaire Morning Show, and I was saying like the work that I've been doing for the past 15 years, I've been using that to pretty much automation testing to run tests like thousands of tests on a daily basis for the past 15 years to validate software that it would take weeks for one person to do it one time, right? I'm running scripts that test thousands of scenarios, right? That it would be impossible for a human to do it, right? And now you're like, well, is AI going to take over? Well, what I did was, all right, well, let me go try let me start getting familiar with the different AI tools. Let me I had a meeting like last month sometime where I was this company, like this startup, they're trying to introduce AI into QA and stuff like that, and into unit testing and stuff like that. And I was like, they're like, hey, can you meet with us? And I was like, sure. And I met with them and find out what they were talking about, see how their tool works. And I said, hey, if you need someone to test it out and stuff, let me know. So, but who knows, right? But it's all about the input, right? There's an input and an output. If you don't know how to properly use the prompt, like Don is mentioning, right? He says you need to have knowledge to prompt well. Exactly, then you're not going to use it properly. So that's why I am always on the front lines of trying out these new tools. That's why last Thursday I was working on Netflix Safe Test repo, right? Because it's a new tool. I want to see how it works. I want to see how it works with React. Months ago, I tried out the Codecept.io to see how they integrated AI into automation and stuff like that. I'll be honest with you. I will be honest with you. I was not very impressed, right? There's some work to be done because the selectors that they gave me, they weren't the greatest, right? And I was like, oh, let me put in my own selectors, and then it worked fine, right? So, like Don says, it depends on the prompt that you're using. So the question is it worth pursuing? It depends. I don't know what the demand in the Philippines is for QA. I would say that here in the US, there is a demand for QA engineers. However, right? The demand is for more senior based engineers. So when I see a lot of people, they're going after these boot camps and stuff like that, especially when it's for manual testing. Yes, manual testing. People still go for boot camps for that, which I personally have changed the name from manual testing to comprehensive QA. So you get a full understanding and background of how QA works, all the different types of testing, unit testing, black box testing, white box testing, gray box testing, regression testing, retesting, and the whole other testing. I did a video about that last month, right? To give a overview of like different types of QA and stuff like that. So it was a few weeks ago, right? Definitely would recommend you check that out. But QA will always be necessary because we have to make things work. We have to make sure that things work. QA saves the company from a lot of embarrassment, a lot of money loss. You know, we are like we see the risks that can happen, and we help prevent those risks. Like, you know, so there's always going to be a chance of risk. There's always going to be a chance of defects. But you know, in the GRC video that's coming out tomorrow about governance, we're talking about, you know, the reputation of the company and stuff like that. QA plays a big part in the GRC process, the risk management process. Although GRC is focused on cybersecurity, QA plays a big part in protecting the company's reputation, software, and bottom line. All right. So it will always be necessary, but the level of QA, that's the part that you have to ask yourself. And you know, that's where you go from. All right. So great question. I just want to say that. And you know, I do wish you the best on your journey and your endeavors. Do you switch from being the IT specialist to QA? You got to do some research, right? You got to do some research for the Philippines, see what the demand is over there, and but QA will always be around, but it just depends your skill level and your dedication to learning new things. I'm a QA engineer, but you see me messing with Terraform, you see me messing with mobile development, you see me messing with software development, and I think the better you know these things, like how to actually do these things, the better it's going to make you at your job as being QA. All right. So shout out to that question. Let's go. And Mitch asks, do you have any thoughts on solutions architect? Yeah, I do actually. Yeah, do I need 5 minutes for this? I don't think I need 5 minutes for this. So about solutions architect, right? They are useful, but from what I've been seeing in the past, I don't know, it depends on the company, right? Because it depends on the sector that they're in. If it's a very big company, they might have solutions architects. They might also, if it's like a regulated company that might require like the separation of duties and stuff like that, they might have a solutions architect. But what happens, another thing I've seen though, is that the solutions architect role is also distributed to like the DevOps as well as the software engineers to come up with the best architecture and stuff like that. So I think it was a role that was created, but then it got swallowed up by all the people who are actually doing, who can do more, right? You know, because companies are always trying to like, it's always about the bottom line, right? So what happens is, it's about knowing architecture, and with the solutions architect, what they do is like they say, okay, based on what we're building, this is what we're going to. This is the infrastructure that we're going to need. We're going to need like this many servers. Like if we're like, we should do it on AWS. We should do it on Microsoft Azure. We should do it on Google Cloud Platform or whatever provider that there is. And you know, it just depends. Like at my company, I don't know if there's anybody with the title of solutions architect, but a lot of like the team that I'm on, a lot of our the engineers, they're the ones who go out there and build the infrastructure, look at what we need and stuff like that. So it just depends on the company. It's I would say knowing it versus actually like going for a role with that title is, I would say knowing about architecture and stuff like that and infrastructure. That's the most important part, because and you just end up doing more when you are like whether you're going into DevOps, because even DevOps itself, that's kind of being swallowed up by engineering as well. So it just depends on the company and the industry that they're in. Don says each company will have their own idea of what QA is. Business to customer and business to business usually have totally different demands on QA. Yep, totally right. And it might be disguised as solutions designer. It could be. So at a meeting that I was at the other day, someone was like talking about solutions architect and stuff like that, and how they don't necessarily build the infrastructure, but they come up with the infrastructure and stuff like that. It just depends on the demand, right? And Tony says, what about software engineers that design their systems, write their own code, manage their own test harness, do their own DevOps, etc., as part of their job function? I think they have. I think all right. So I think with those roles, when they do all of that, then they don't have as much time to get a lot of other stuff done because and testing your own like code outside of writing unit tests. But if you write the code and then you test it yourself, that's a recipe for disaster, right? That's a total recipe for disaster. Um, so I wouldn't advise that. And if there's a company that you're working at that is that's like the job description and the job function, then I would say that you're very equipped to go to somewhere else where you're going to because like if you go to like an interview like, oh yeah, I know how to do this, I know how to do that, I know how to do this, then it's going to look good for you. And you wouldn't have to do all of that if it's a company that has like good structure and stuff like that. So I would say definitely use that as an opportunity to learn all about those different roles and fields. But I would never expect someone to be able to like to have to do all that, like managing all their own DevOps and the whole test harness and stuff like that. Um, all right. Before we go on to our next question, Tony says, "All my tests return true equals true. I don't know what the problem is." Hey, and that's why developers shouldn't be the primary. Like they shouldn't be writing their own test. So, anyways, all right. Let's get to our next question. Let's get moving. All right.
Another one.
Boss passed me up for 5, not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 5 promotions trying to quiet fire me. All right. I do my job and I do it well. This has garnered the attention of executives who are now going to me instead of him to solve problems, which my boss doesn't like too much. At this point, I've been passed up for 5 promotions to what is effectively a junior role. All of the hires are better paid with less experience and were hired solely because they worked with my boss in the past in completely unrelated roles. I also found out I was passed up for a raise recently despite doing much more than is required. There are multiple departments I could easily move to with better pay / culture, and I intend to, but this leaves a sour taste in my mouth, and I hate to see the company suffering because of nepotism. Not sure I can keep my mouth shut until I move if this keeps up. He's piling on work outside my normal tasks, which already take up 50 to 60 hours a week. What should I do? That is a great question. All right. Angie says that's too much work for one person. That's a fact. All right. So what should you do if your boss hates you, right? And now because your boss hates you, you're like,
I hate it here. I want to go home.
so I would say that. So you see, and this is why I like this question, right? Because everyone is like, "Oh my God, this is bad," and you need to go pass up for 5 promotions. Manager sounds like a trash can, and I'm gonna say this, right? This is a totally one-sided. Perspective, right, from this person who asked the question, and I'll tell you this, right? Years ago, I was doing. Where's the time? Years ago, right? I was doing a performance review, right? And you know how on the performance review, like you'll have someone say like they'll say like what they rate themselves, right? and then you put what you rate the person, and then like, you try to find it in the middle. Well, there was this one time someone put exceeds expectation all down the line, right? And then on my sheet, everything was needs improvement, right? So take that for what it's worth, right? But we're gonna go with the question. Right? I'm just throwing that out there, right? So, what should you do? Well, number one, you should keep quiet until you move, right? Like we were talking about earlier, push through. And if you like, here's the thing, right? People just feel like they have to say something. They just have to say something. Like, it's not fair. It's not fair. It's not fair. For me, the only thing that I know that's fair, is when in the city or down here in South Florida they have the Miami Fair, the youth fair, where you drive down and you go. There's a bunch of animals and rides and stuff like that, right? When it comes to fair, that's the only thing I think of, right? That's life, right? You got to deal with stuff. But if you put you're already in a bad spot, right? If you're gonna sabotage yourself more, then it's gonna be even harder for you, right? And the fact that many people, they do not know how to play the game, and that's why we end up in these situations, right? Because we just have to get that fairness and that justice and all that good stuff, and then you end up in court, and we're not going to get into that, but that's a funny court case that's going on right now. But anyways, you got to play the game, right? What if you do your job well, right? If you do your job well, and now you have everybody coming to you instead of to your boss, that doesn't look good. I wouldn't like that, right? I wouldn't like that, and that's why like you're making enemies and not allies, right? And that's what happens. And now you're getting passed up. You're getting all these people hired over you and stuff like that. You have to make allies, right? Especially like you got to look up and you have to say, all right, how can I make this work, right? And then if you join the team, right? If you're not trying to be an outsider and not trying to be adversarial, right? It's going to you'll be in a better position. So that's another perspective. You say that it's possible to go to a different department. There are multiple departments that you could easily move to with better pay and culture. Why haven't you done that? If it's and that's the part that really bothers me a lot of times, right? You say, "Oh, I can do this. I can do that. I can do this. I can do that." Well, why haven't you? Why haven't you? Like. This is the part that I always talk about, right? I just mentioned about the stoicism. Not getting emotional. I hate to see the company suffering because of nepotism. I couldn't care less, right? It's not my company. I'm here to do a job, and you said you do your job well. I come and I do my job, right? Wherever it is that I go, right? I go to train. I go to do this. I show up. I do what I have to do, and I go, right? That's it. I show up, do what I have to do, and I go. So, with that being said, what should you do? Keep your mouth shut. Do your work and transfer to whatever department or whatever company or get better pay, get better culture. What was the video that I put this week? What is your purpose? You have to be your purpose. Your purpose is not the company suffering because of nepotism and stuff like that, because they'll run themselves into the ground if that's the case, and they'll lose. But it's about you winning. So do what you got to do. Get your better pay. Get your better culture. Keep your mouth shut. Don't go to war with your boss, because 9 times out of 10 you're gonna lose that war. All right, and keep quiet. Right, or you can join the boss's team, not be adversarial. And then maybe you can get a promotion, and maybe you don't have to work 50 to 60 hours a week from the perspective that you have shared. I'm just going based off what you have said. All right. It could be a totally different story on the other side. Just throwing that out there. All right. So let's wrap that one up. Just my perspective. Like I said, engineered to win. I play the game to win. That's just me. I don't let my feelings get involved. I don't let my feelings make the decisions. Do I care about nepotism? Not one bit. Just run me my money and we good to go, right? And Mitch, make it cash, all right? All right, let's see. So Mitch had said you need to quiet go 5 promotions passed up on SMH. So they say. And Tony says manager sounds like a trash can. All right. And Mitch says, I'm curious to know, was it the same position 5 times? What was their reasoning? Good question. See, and here's the thing, right? And Angie, being that you're learning QA and automation, you're going to like this, right? In QA, and Don can back me up on this, right? It's been instilled in our mind not to believe or trust what anyone says, right? We need to get confirmation, verification, validation, right? Like when we're writing our expected results, right? Validate that this happens, verify that happens, right? We call them assertions. So when I read these sad stories, I'm like, cool. All right, what's the real story, right? Because we're always going to put ourselves in the victim position, because a lot of us, we are gold medalists in the victim Olympics. All right, cool. And Mitch says, sometimes I crack myself up too. All right. Let's get to our next question. I think my bot died, but it's cool. All right. So next up on the docket, before we go to our next one, right? If you are having a good time, do me a big favor, right? Go ahead and like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you can know every single time that we go live or drop new content. And if you are in need of exclusive content that is not on YouTube, that's going to help you level up, or we have exclusive live streams, members only live streams. By members only, I mean Patreon members only, where I help you level up. The earlier this month, I did a live stream where I was updating my resume in real time, where I can answer your questions. The next live stream we're going to do is we are going to be helping you get set up to work in an agile environment. So when you hit that job, you can hit the ground running. You don't have to be lost and like, what? Why do I have this meeting on my calendar? Why do I have this 2-hour meeting, right? So that's what we're going to be talking about, right? So, and as well, if you need one-on-one coaching, definitely go to www.techcoachralph.dev, where you can level up your technical skills and your career skills. The link is pinned to the top of the chat as well as in the description. All right. Let's get to our next one. Okay. Let's get to our next one.
Another one.
Girlfriend looking to switch careers to QA. Some questions inside. All right. So let's go inside. All right. My girlfriend is currently looking to switch her career path away from journalism and content editing to a career that might have a slightly better WLB. What the heck is WLB? Let's find out. What does WLB stand for? Oops. Oh, work-life balance. Oh, no wonder I didn't know what that meant, because I never talk about work. I never talk about work-life balance. Because you know what my work-life balance is? Once I get off work, I go to my next job, which is creating content or coaching and stuff like that. 24/7, right? And then once I finish all that, I go to my last job, which is sleeping. Yep, sleeping is a job for me. Eating is a job for me. All that. Thanks for letting me know. Now I never thought about that before, right? So, fighting is another job for me. Jiu-jitsu, all that good stuff. All right, cool. So now that we know work-life balance, people always have acronyms for everything. Okay, so better work-life balance and prospects. I'm biased, of course, because she really does have amazing work ethic, looking for work-life balance, having amazing work ethic. Okay, shout out to that. Great eye for detail, management experience, and a genuine curiosity about how things work. We had we have proper grammar, please. We have a few questions just to set expectations of her learning journey, as we're not too clued up on this yet. How long would you estimate the average person could learn the skills required for a junior QA position? I realize this will vary substantially, but if we said this person could study full time 4 to 5 days a week with the assistance of a software engineer to attempt to assist with any technical questions, what resources would you recommend she takes a look at to learn? We've seen the ISTQB exam mentioned before. Is this something to aim for? The ISTQB certification is Don's favorite. Yes, his favorite certification to have. He is a proud carrying member of the ISTQB board. So shout out to Don for that. Is this something to aim for? All right. And then oh my God, there's a total load of questions. All right. Generally speaking, what are the key skills, technologies would you hope for a junior QA to know? If anyone could provide some insight into those questions, we would be super grateful. It really would mean a lot. All right. So the first thing, there's so many places to start with this, right? But I'm going to start off with this, right? And sorry to whoever is bothered by it, but it's really tough, right? To get these questions. Start the timer, right? It's really tough to get these questions right, because why do we go and spend the learning portions of our lives when we go to college and stuff like that, and we spend the time on something that made us feel good, but we didn't do any research on it, and then we find out it's not really for us and it's a lot of work, and then we say, well, let me go transition to another field, right? And I want to be able to do it in 6 weeks. So you spent 4 years getting a degree for something that wasn't really going to help you much, because I've seen so many people, I went to school for political science, or I went to school for international studies, and now I want to take a 6-week boot camp so I can do the type of work that you do, right? And I'm like, all right, I see. I am not doing that. All right, I'm not doing that, Mitch. All right, so now let's get to. I just wanted to put that out there because, if you were to ask me, I'd say, hey, go to community college and start off at community college, right? I would say the boot camp and community college, or community college and, like, one of the people that I'm coaching, community college and a Udemy course or a Coursera course and stuff like that, and help you learn, get some type of degree, some type of education that's going to, mesh together. But all right, let's keep going. So here's my first real question, right? Because so you asked, how long would you estimate the average person could learn the skills required for a junior QA position? But here's the problem. And this is what I always try to help you guys out with. Are you doing the research for the actual position that you say that you want to go for, right? So if you go on Glassdoor, you go on LinkedIn, you go on Indeed, you go all these job boards, and you search for junior QA, what are you finding? Right? When I search for it, I can barely find junior QA positions. When I search for manual QA, I barely find any of those, right? So, and then the people in the boot camps and stuff like that, there's tons of people going for those same positions. So now you have a whole bunch of competition, right? Now, if you, Mr. Boyfriend, are a software engineer, then my question to you is, are you able to help your girlfriend, to help Mrs. Girlfriend get a job at your company? Then that changes the whole game. Because if you're able to do that, then maybe we can practice some nepotism. Maybe some nepotism going there so that you can help Mrs. Girlfriend end up with a job at your company. Then that changes everything, right? Because at that case, then go on Udemy, go take a boot camp, whichever one that it is, and you can bypass having to apply for 4,000 jobs in a year. Okay, so all right, let's get to the next question. But yeah, I would say you have to do the research first, right? See what type of positions are out there, and then once you see the type of positions are out there, then you actually go out and then you actually go after like getting the skills that are listed on, like, let's say you find like 10, 20 jobs, right? You got to do some research and you say, okay, what are the top 5 things that these 10 to 20 jobs are asking for? And those are the things that you're going to focus on learning, and you're going to go crazy learning those things, right? So with that being said, if you can study for 4 to 5 days a week, full time, tell me, what does studying full time mean, right? Does that mean 8 hours a day that you're going to be studying? Because that's going to be like, that's a lot, right? That's a lot to like try to study QA and stuff like that, but it's possible. So 4 to 5 days a week. So here's a problem with studying full time, right? And this is study. It only gives you theory, right? You actually need to be able to do practical implementation, right? Practical application. So that means, I don't know, like when you're mentioning junior QA, right? I don't know to what level that is. If that means like manual, or is it like junior QA with automation and stuff like that? And what type of stuff you're going to be testing? But in that full time of studying, it has to be a balance of the course that you're taking as well as actually building practical things, right? And if you're a software engineer, why don't you just have her learn by testing your work, right? I'm just saying, right? If you're a software engineer, have her test your work before you submit it to the other people. And that way you look even better because she's testing your work and she's catching all your issues and your defects and your lack of unit testing and stuff like that. And then when you send it to the real QA people to test your work, they're like, oh wow, this is perfect. How did that happen, right? And now you can try to finesse the system, and on her resume, she could say that she tested your work and that she made you better. Okay, so. And then what research would you recommend she takes a look at? I would always say, so my golden rule is before you jump into something, you have to start at the lowest cost possible. So what I always recommend, get a Udemy course when they're on sale for like 10, 20 bucks, right? And if you're already in the boot camp, then keep going with that. But if you haven't started a boot camp yet, I always recommend to everyone, start off with like a Udemy course or something like that, or Coursera, and start learning that way to see if this is something that you're really interested in. Because the thing that breaks my heart, right? And like I said, I don't have any emotions, right? But the thing that breaks my heart is when you go and then you pay like $5,000-$10,000, and then you see that it wasn't really something for me, and now like they take a bunch of your money that you didn't have to. And I'll tell you this, right? You learn like the stuff that you learn on Udemy, if you match that up with proper mentorship and coaching, it's going to put you in a really, really good position for a fraction of the cost, right? That it can cost you by going into like the whole bootcamp route, and then having a bunch of people that they're actually your competition, but they make it seem like you guys are all working together. Nope. You guys are not working together. The same way when you go to the conferences where you have a bunch of people looking for the same job, you guys are not friends. You guys are not working together. So just putting that out there. All right. Let's see what else. And what's the ICQB. Like, don't tell Donna I said this, but I would say that the ICQB exam doesn't mean anything. Most of the QA people I know, they either never heard of it or they don't have it. ISTQB is like, I'll say mostly for regulated industries because a lot of government contractors and government agencies want QA people to have ISTQB certification. So it can help in that aspect, but it's really not a requirement in QA. I read something the other day. Someone said, "Oh, I heard it was required." Like, no, it's not required. And most of the people a lot of people who are trying to transition into the field get their ISTQB certification, but then when I ask them practical questions, they're like, they can't answer the questions for the life of them. All right. So I would focus on building practical experience, practical knowledge, and finding a way to jump on some real projects so that you can actually feel what it's like to work as a QA engineer. And then once you go to those interviews, you can crush it because you have that good experience, right? And that's what I coach my Patreon members, my Tech Barbarians and my Tech Prodigy members to do, right? To be in the real world environment so that, we're building software. You see me on Sundays deploying software, showing you what we're building. About to continue with that. All right. So, and then lastly, what key skills and technologies would you hope for a junior QA to know? I don't really like. So I guess if I take a look at it in my company, I guess the junior QAs would be like a QA specialist or a QA level 1, QA engineer level 1, and at my company, all QA engineers or all QA people, right? Anyone in QA, they know how to write some sort of automation. Like they might not be like the best at it, but they start writing automation, and then we grow them to continue getting better at it. There's strategies that they use and stuff like that. So being able to have critical thinking skills, being able to write some sort of automation, whether it's in Python or Java or JavaScript and TypeScript and stuff like that, and learning how to figure things out, right? That's what I look for. And then, as a junior, that's what I would look for. And the more you go into that, like if you start working, like messing around with AWS and Docker, I would love for junior QAs to be better in Docker and setting up like testing environments and stuff like that. But those are the things I would look for junior, right? So hopefully that helps everyone out there who is looking to be in QA. I would look to be a little bit above junior because it is hard. The competition is fierce out there. Unless, like I said, we practice a little bit of nepotism and you help Mrs. Girlfriend get a job at Mr. Boyfriend's, Mr. Software Engineer's company. All right. So that is that. All right. So Tony said, let me see. Sleeping is a job. Oh my goodness. I don't even know what you guys are laughing to. I know Mitch is laughing to sleeping is a job. Tony said, Tony, what was 2 weeks about? I missed it. What was 2 weeks about? And I did not go on a boot camp rant, Mitch. Maybe I did a little bit. Tony says 80 hours plus as a software engineer as a resource is more than enough in my opinion because they'll get practical experience. Yeah, I think so. I do agree with that. Like, if the person who is like training you and coaching you is it's anywhere in the tech industry, right? They can give you some great insight into like what's going on and stuff like that. So that's definitely that would be a big leg up. And if you could, and you can also advocate for them to work in the QA department and stuff like that in your company. Like, they have like referrals and stuff like that. If you like, I always talk about networking and stuff like that, where I'm like, networking is like, it works, but you have to use it wisely. But if you're networking with somebody who is like close to you, then it makes it okay, I got it. But yeah, if you have someone who can actually help you get into the company, then that's a game changer right there, right? So awesome. And Angie says practical experience definitely helps better than theory. Yeah. And I'll tell you, like, some of the people that I'm coaching that I'm working with, like they've gone to boot camps and stuff like that. But now that I actually like put them to work on real things, like building real software, and it's okay, go and test this. And it's like a deer in headlights, and I'm like, okay, but I appreciate that because I would rather you be in a deer in headlights when you're working with me, getting coached by me, mentored by me, instead of you go on an interview and they ask you a question and now you're like, have no idea what to do. And, so, and that's why, like, I'm not bothered by it. And I'd rather you be honest with me and you say, oh, I don't know. All right, cool. Let's find out, And then one of the people that I'm coaching, like we're working on setting up a database. We're going to be having the quotes from the application that we're building stored in there. So I have one of the people that I'm coaching building out the schema. The other one is working on testing the database and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, you don't know? Okay, cool. We're going to figure it out together, and we're going to go from there. So having someone, and that's why I say like finding mentors who are in the industry of the role that you want to be in. It's so much different than just going to a boot camp, because the people, like when you find a mentor or a coach, they have no real vested interest in you, so they're going to be honest with you, right? Like they're not depending on you like trying to sell you like a $6,000 course or something like that. You might pay maybe a couple hundred to like for their time, a month or something like that, but they're going to really tell you the truth and help you get to where you're trying to get to. All right. And then Mitch says 2 weeks to become a QA. I think he was joking. Okay. Yeah. That's a good one. That's a good one. Now, if only Tony's guard was as good as his jokes. I'm just kidding, Tony. Your guard is amazing. All right. And it gets better every time. All right. So I'm just kidding. All right. So let's get to our next question. We've got some good questions lined up for tonight. All right. But time is running. Okay. So the next question. Okay, this is gonna be fun. It's like, oh God, I have to pick better because all these are following a common theme tonight. All right. So let's go.
Another one.
Starting in QA. It says, I've been thinking for a long time to choose QA as my career. Last summer, I came across a 3-day QA marathon provided by one of the leading companies from my country when it comes to courses in the IT field. Those courses are relatively expensive, around 1,500 to 2,000 euros for 3 to 4 months. So I would like to find out if there are other ways to land a job in this field, preferably remote. So no idea with demands. All right. I have no previous experience in this field, but as I've seen in that marathon, it was like a marathon on TV, like kind of like on USA when they have the Chicago PD marathons, they have the Law and Order marathons. Those Sunday, like those Saturdays used to be popping when I would just sit there and do absolutely nothing, wasting my time away watching Law and Order SVU marathons. All right. But I digress. ADD kicking in. All right. So all right. So let me start over. All right. I have no previous experience in this field, but I've seen in that marathon and knowing that I could learn pretty much easily what implies manual testing, which doesn't exist anymore, by the way. It's something that I'm willing to learn and master. After those days, I dived in a bit more in the subject and found some crowd testing platforms in which I took some courses provided by those websites as well. So here we get to the questions. Is it necessary to have a certification in this field? All right, that's the first question. If yes, is it enough to have a certificate from one of those companies that offer this kind of course? Or should I look into getting a uni, which I'm guessing means university degree? All right. If no, should I learn on my own using the resources I find online and then try to apply to companies? Do I have any chances to get into a company as a complete beginner only with knowledge learned online? Oh my goodness, this is a lot of questions. All right. Should I put on my CV, which is a resume in the United States, right? A CV, in Europe. One of the people I'm coaching, they're in London, and they always say CV, and I'm like, CV and like resume. I'm like, oh, resume. I got you. My bad. All right. But yeah, should I put on my CV, on my resume for Americans, right? The fact that I did some testing on crowd testing platforms such as UTest, Testlio and Test.io, and that's it, right? That's the questions, right? So let's get to it. All right, let's get started with our question. I shouldn't have said that. All right, I'll answer that question for you after, Angie. It's always hard for me to talk about that, but I'll answer. I will definitely answer it for you. All right. So, and when I say that, I'm being a little facetious. Oh my goodness, can't speak. But I'll answer for you after I'm done with this question. So a 3-day QA marathon. I find that pretty funny. The 3-day QA marathon part. But so Mitch, Tony had said 2 weeks. How about 3 days? Right? How about 3 days? All right. Anyways, I'm just being petty. I'm being petty. The petty tech guy. All right. So let's just get to the questions. I think I've touched on the story many times, but is it necessary to have a certification in the field? No, but depends on. I mean, Europe has its own regulations, but for the most part, you don't need a certification in QA to get a job unless it's a company that's specifically asking for it. Some countries, the job positions, they kind of talk about ISTQB a lot more than other countries. Like, in the United States, like over here, we don't I've seen very few companies that ask for ISTQB as a requirement. Some of them might say like it's nice to have, but if you put me up against someone who did I start my clock? I didn't start the clock. All right, the clock is started, right? If you put me up against someone who is ISTQB certified, and me who is not, but been doing like all types of crazy tech and QA stuff for the past 15 to 20 years, I will be like Usain Bolt around them, right? I'll run around them like 100 times and they'll still be like trying to get off the starting line, right? But that's just to show that certifications can be useful, but a lot of times it's just a marketing thing, right? Now, that's not saying that for all certifications, right? Because in like cybersecurity, for example, certifications can play a big role. Sometimes they're required in order to have certain jobs. So I'm not talking about all certifications. I'm just talking about like those QA certifications. Now, if it is necessary to have one, is it enough to have a certificate from one of those companies that offer this kind of course? So because I said no, it's a nice, like, let's say you take a boot camp or a Udemy course or something like that, and you completed the course. I honestly wouldn't like. It's okay. So let's put it this way, right? Let's say I have your resume, and I'm looking at your resume, and I'm going to interview you. I'm not interviewing you because you completed a boot camp or anything like that. I'm interviewing you because of what you have listed as your experience and as your skills, right? So, just throwing that out there. The most important thing that matters on your resume is the skills that are listed on the resume and what's listed on the lines of your experience, right? I always say, what value did you bring to that company? What value do you look to bring what value you brought to the company that you were at, and what value are you going to bring to this company that you're applying for? And what skills did you have listed, right? So when a lot of times people put like, oh, I have good communication skills. Great. You should, that's an expectation. I don't care, right? But like how much Python experience do you have? How much AWS experience do you have? How much Docker experience do you have? Those are the things that I'm looking for when I'm looking at a resume, right? And then I'm saying, okay, in your last role, what did you do, right? So, if I see that you did like you went to some college and you have a computer science degree, cool, right? If you did some Udemy course, cool. If you did a boot camp, cool. Is it my number one priority? Not really. It's really about what you did, and then a lot of times when I'm interviewing, the point that when I actually get to talk to you, you already did your technical project, and now we're doing a technical interview, and I'm looking at your code. I've already looked at your code to see if I give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down. So certificates, like I would say you'll get one if you finish the course, but it's not the end all be all, right? So if no, should I learn on my own using resources I find online and then try to apply to companies? You could try that. I mean, it's hard to say because like what I just explained about the resumes, what I'm looking for, right? So what I would say is, however it is that you learn, right? And whether it's a boot camp, whether it's a Udemy course, right? The most important thing that you can put on there is finding a way to get experience, right? And here's how I got one of my tech barbarian members, one of my Patreon members, experience, right? Or we're actually in the process of getting more experience. I helped find a start. Two of them actually, right? One of them I helped them find a startup so that they can contribute to and they can actually do real testing and writing documentation, writing QA and stuff like that. Because they want to get into the field, but you don't have the experience. I created an internship for them, right? I went and sourced a startup. Say, okay, you don't have testing, you don't want your app to crash and burn as soon as you release it. Well, I have someone who needs some experience in testing, and I'm going to be backing them up. So now let's come together and let's make it work, right? Another person that I have, they pretty much found their own startup to join, and now I'm coaching them through the process, helping them with the documentation. By helping them and coaching them through the documentation, through the processes and stuff like that, right? Through their studying and everything. So what courses they should be taking, what they should be focused on. So you can you just have using those resources. Those are great. Like however it is that you learn, that's great. But you need the most important thing is finding a way to have that get practical implementation, right? Practical application. So many times in the boot camps that you go to, they put you in some fake internship that you're not really building anything or learning anything. And it just puts you in a worse position. Like not a worse position. You get some experience, but it's not enough for a company to want to hire you and talk to you and stuff like that, right? So always looking to put you in like what I try to do is either you're working with me on one of our projects that's going to get pushed to production, that we're going to have users and stuff like that, or I try to help you land in some like type of startup that they don't have many resources, they don't have testing, they might not even be able to pay you, but they might not be able to pay you monetarily, but they can pay you in experience, right? Because to me, experience is another form of payment. And I know some people are like, oh, I would never work for free and stuff like that. Well, for me, that's not working for free. That is me working for experience, and I now get the leg up on you. So let's take that for what it's worth. And lastly, should I put it in my CV, which means resume? The fact that I did some testing on crowd testing platforms. You can. You can. Most people probably wouldn't know what that is to care, but if you say like, if your testing is actually like something that, let's put it like this. If you have an entry on your resume that says like the company that you worked for is like UTest or Testly or Test.io, and then what you actually did was something that was actually valid, then that's going to pass. But if you put something on there that doesn't really mean much or it's not really show experience, then no one's going to care, right? It's all about like when you like your resume is your business card. It's your marketing letter, right? So if you're gonna put whatever you put on your resume, you need to show what value that it add. Because when I was telling somebody today, actually, they asked me their resume, and I had to respond to them. I'm like, if you put a point on your resume, after you write it down, ask yourself, okay, so what? If you can't answer the so what, then it's not complete, right? When you put something on your resume, it has to say like, okay, so what? Okay, the reason that it's there is because it was able to save the company this amount of money. It was able to prevent these amount of defects from going into production. It was so what? Oh, we were able to this idea we were able to build it, and it generated the company this much money, right? That's a so what. That's what I want to see on a resume to show what like the work that you did, the type of value that it brought to the company. All right. So keep that in mind, and we'll go from there. All right. So let's wrap that one up. All righty then. So let's answer. Let's go back to the top. All right. So yes, Mitch, Chicago PD is I love Chicago PD. That's the only show I'll give up all the other shows, but I cannot give up Chicago PD, right? I love Chicago PD. I love Sergeant Voight. All right. All right. Next up. I'm just kidding, Tony. I'm just kidding. All right. All right. So let me address Angie's question, right? Manual testing doesn't exist anymore. So it does exist, right? But I think with manual testing, QA engineers who will do automated testing and stuff like that, because we're in an agile environment nowadays, you can get in order to automate something, you have to test it manually first, right? So I'll give you an example. The way that I work is I'm on a Scrum team, right? And when we get a story, we'll write a test plan, right? So we have a story in the sprint. We write the test plan, and we say, okay, these are the things that we need to cover. We're gonna run our automated regression test. And is there anything in this that can be automated, right? So we have to test it manually first to make sure that it works and everything like that. And in the process of testing it manually, we're also writing our automated test for it so that it can be added to the regressions. Whether we're doing we have different type of tests, we have like API tests, we have unit tests, we have end-to-end tests, right? For whatever it is that we need. So we find the right place to put it. Sometimes I'm like creating architecture and stuff like that, or infrastructure, so we can be able to facilitate our tests. Sometimes I'm doing the deployment. It just depends, right? So the reason that I say that manual testing doesn't exist anymore, it's not manual testing that doesn't exist. It's manual testers for the most part, right? Because it's being swallowed up by doing more and being the fact that it's on a Scrum team. Back in the days when it was like the waterfall method, you would have a bunch of testers who would be waiting for the whole application to be created by the developers, and then it would get passed off to the QA team, and then they would just do a bunch of testing, and then there was like no automation and stuff like that. But nowadays, with the way that we work with like the continuous cycle, the continuous deployment, continuous integration, we need to be able to add our tests to the automation suite so that we can continuously test all the stuff that are happening, as well as quickly test, because we work in like small features, right? And we test that feature, we get it automated, we get it added. So it's the manual tester role that has been like, it's more of an automation engineer. And that's what I was saying with my company. Everyone does automation. So even if it's like you're still learning, getting better at automation, everyone does automation. And that's why I tell people when they say, oh, I'm in a boot camp for manual testing, I'm like, it's going to be so hard for you to find, like, out of all the people that I've come across to who went for manual testing, only one of them that I know of actually landed a job as a manual tester, and that's because she went out there and she fought for it, and she was like relentless in her work ethic to get it. And that not only that, they also have her learning a lot more stuff and already putting her on the pathway to automation, right? So that's why I say, like, just try to learn, like, and that's why I call it the manual testing, not comprehensive testing, to get all the background of testing. But you also want to go straight into automation, straight into learning the code, like you mentioned, learning Python and stuff like that. That would be my greatest recommendation to you, is like, learn everything about manual, but also start learning automation as well. All right. And Mitch said, it exists, but those roles are very hard to find. And if you're lucky enough to find, there's 20 million people going for that role. Of course, I'm exaggerating, but exaggerating the 20 million. Yeah, like Mitch is totally right, especially when people want remote. It's not easy right nowadays to get the remote role. All right. And Mitch says, how long should a technical at-home assignment take you to do? Depending on what, like, let's say for QA, for instance, maybe a few hours, maybe like 3 to 4 hours. And we know, like most companies will give you like a few days to do it, like 3 to 4 days to do it. But it shouldn't take you that long. And how long should a technical at-home assignment take for interview? Yeah, like I said, like 3 to 4 hours. depending on if you know what you're doing, you know. And Angie said, got it. Shout out to Angie. All right. So what time is it? 9:04. Let's get to our next question. So the next question of the night, if you haven't done so yet, like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you can know every single time we go live. And with that being said, let's get to our next one.
Another one.
Would you jump ship to switch teams if you feel you've plateaued in your career? That's a good question. I'm in IT. Been working in my current position for my current company for 2 years now. Since mid 2023, things have been stagnant. Oh, that sucks. I've been thinking if I should try to switch teams or jump ship. I've talked to my boss about it, but there isn't much he can do as it is a big corporation. I've actually scheduled a call with a manager from another team and see if there's any opportunities in his team. Do you think this is a good idea or should I just change companies? Well, that depends. Let's start our clock. That depends, right? What does that depend on? Well, that depends on what are you going to be doing in that other role? What are your options, right? What is your skill set? So as far as talking to the other manager, I would say, like we saw with the person who was passed up for a promotion 5 times, before you talk to any person about leaving your current role to go to another role, talk to your manager first. Say, hey, Mr. Manager or Mrs. Manager, I'm interested in you talk to your manager about being stagnant. There's not much they can do. Say, hey, I want to have a meeting with this manager and this team to see what opportunities that they might have and stuff like that. Get their blessing, and then you go do that. A lot of times we just go and do stuff, and then it doesn't work out well for us, right? So definitely talk to your manager first. Let them know, and then see, and then they're gonna say sure, right? They have no problem with it. And then you can go to talk to that other manager, right? Now, the next question, though, is next question. Do I think it's a good idea? Yes, it's a good idea as long with that caveat that you talk to your manager, let them know what you're thinking, right? So the other question is, though, that I would ask, going to that other team, right? What's that career pathway? What are your options there? How much more money would you be making if you switch teams, right? From what I've seen in my past, you can be at a company and you can continue to get those 3 to 5% raises over and over and over again, right? If you are, so the ranking goes, right? Needs improvement, meets expectations, exceeds expectations, and excellent or exceptional or something like that, right? And if you are exceptional, then you get like a 5% raise, right? Which is really a 2% raise because the 3% is the average, and it's really for adjusting for the cost of living, inflation, and stuff like that, right? So you might get a 5% raise, even though inflation might be at like 100%, right? I'm kidding. Just like Mitch's 20 million, right? But I'm kidding. But the thing is, a lot of times when you're getting raises or promoting within the company, not only that let's say you do get promoted, right, and you get like some more money, it's not the same amount of money as if you were like to go to another company, you know. So you have to weigh that cost as well, right? So I would say compare the two. If you like in the past when I was like, all right, it's time for me to switch, I went ahead and I looked for other opportunities, and I went to places that I could continue to grow. Now, I will say that when I'm not looking, then I'm not looking, right? And I won't even like really answer emails or stuff like that recruiters might be sending. But not this current company, but the company before that, when I was like, oh, I'm not really looking to switch and stuff like that. But then I happened to they sent me an email 2 times, right? And they were like, And on the second email, they said, "Oh, by the way, did I mention this position is about 30,000 more than you're making now?" I'm like, okay, now I have to entertain it. Now I have to entertain it. You know, so just putting that out there. So you have to do the math, weigh the cost. But I would say like when you are at one company, if you are going to another company, the raise that you might be getting might be pretty good, and you might be getting promoted and stuff like that. Weigh the cost. See if you stay within the company, but go to another team, what that pay is going to be, right? So you just gotta consider that, all right? And see, was there anything else with that question? Or like I said, changing companies, it depends. It depends. Like if you really like the company that you're at, then you might not want to change companies. But at the end of the day, it's all about the funds, and some people like work-life balance, so you got to consider that too. But that's how I see it. All right. So let's wrap that question up. Actually, before we wrap that question up, let's see. I think there are some relevant chats over here. Let's see. See, like Angie says, 10K raise is like $50 after tax. That's a fact. All right. And Tony says, depending on hours worked. Also, when I was first starting out, I had a job that was stagnant, but I worked low hours. I used my free time to learn new things and ended up 3 timing my salary at a better job. Like I said, and you have to like, that's another thing, right? You have to use your time wisely, because if you think like if it's stagnant, then like Tony said, go ahead and like learn something. You have plenty of time to learn and go out there and get it, right? And then at the end of the day, go out there and get it, all right? And Mitch says, I think it's 2 to 4%. 5% is a stretch, especially outside of tech. That's true. That's true. So last year. All right, let's wrap that one up, and then I'll read. All right, Mitch said, exactly, this company that reached out to me wanted me to do an assignment, but literally it would have taken me 2 weeks. 2 weeks? That's crazy. I told them thanks, but it's not feasible for me to do. It's not for a QA role. Yeah, that's crazy. 2-week project for a job. Like, how much are they? Were they gonna pay you well though? Like, because I mean, if you're gonna pay me like 5 times what I'm making now for a 2-week assignment, then maybe don't threaten me with a good time. Anyways, NT ways. All right, let's go on to our next question. All right. But yeah, 2 weeks is crazy, Mitch. 2 weeks. What are these people thinking? All right, they're trying to have you do a whole sprint. They were trying to have you do a whole sprint, man. It was like, yeah, we have a 2-week sprint going on. You want to join the team? All right, let's get to our next question.
Another one.
So this one is a little bit more technical, but it's going to be very, very helpful. How is your automated test code reviewed? Can you give me a detailed explanation on once you write your code, where do you upload it to store it? Do you use Git Bash or push your own branch in GitHub? If your QA lead is reviewing your code, where and how do they do it? Do they pull to their computer and run the code on an IDE? All right. I like this question. All right. So how do we do like code reviews for automation testing, right? So I will tell you how I'll give you a few examples, right? So I'll start off with a company that I was at a few companies ago, right? When I was doing automation using Java and Selenium, and when I did, they would do code reviews. So when I said, all right, let me do a code review, right? And their recommendations was totally not on par with like automation standards. As developers, I was like, all right, this isn't gonna work. So I just like said, you know what, forget code reviews. And when and the way that I would know that my tests were working, right, that my code was working, because my tests would be passing, right? However, so that was one situation, because it just depends on who you are working with. And I was also like the QA, the senior QA and the only QA, right? So there was that dynamic, right? However, at this company, we have a huge QA organization, but I'll give you the answer of like how the how the general QA organization does it, and then I'll tell you how I do it on my team because I don't work as closely with the general QA organization as I do with my team. So the general QA organization, they will have like they'll create like we use GitHub and we'll submit pull requests, and then it'll tell you the code that was changed and the code that's looking to be merged, and then we'll have like they'll drop the pull request in a chat, and then we'll have different QA people going in there and giving recommendations and stuff like that. And then once it's approved, then it gets merged into the master branch and everything like that, right? So the question though that you're asking as well is, so like I said, we use GitHub, right? And we use the pull request to see what has changed. And if your QA leads review your code, so the whole like pretty much anyone can review it and give feedback and stuff like that, and then give approvals. So it's not only the QA leads that are doing it. The QA leads or the QA managers or the lead QA engineers, the senior QA engineers, their voice has a little bit more weight because they have more experience. But anyone can can contribute, ask questions, stuff like that, right? Now, do they pull the code on their computer? Do they run it on the IDE? No. The reason why they don't do that is because we can see if the test pass when we run it through the CI/CD the CI/CD pipeline, as well as if you do not test your code manually before you push it for code review, then that's a problem, right? You should be testing you should be running the code, the test locally. When I said manually, I meant locally. Run it locally to see it pass, right? And then you push your code up, and then you run it on that branch to see all the tests pass. And now if all the tests pass, then I would submit it for a code review, get some feedback, make some enhancements. When I do the enhancements, when I make the changes, then I would actually run the test again to make sure they're still passing, do regression on your tests and on your changes. Make sure that they're still passing before, and I didn't start the clock, but it is what it is, right? You do that before you actually submit again for code review. And once everything is approved, you merge into the main branch or the master branch, and you are good to go. All right. So that is how the automation code is reviewed and tested. And I can't say in most organizations. Oh, I didn't answer how I do it like on my team, right? So on my team, the developers as well as the QA engineers, we all contribute to the automation. So when our automation is written within the same branch that the developers would, in most cases, right, that they write their code, right? So because we try to keep it together. So in the same, because if you don't, you're going to get backed up on automation because it's not going to get prioritized, right? So when we're working on a feature, working on a story, the developers are writing their code. I also have that branch where I'm writing my automation code, and then everything gets tested out together, and the developers and other QAs on my team will do the code review, and because our developers are really, really good at automation as well, and they're very QA minded. So it's just a great dynamic. But they write some automation code, we write some automation code, or we write most of the automation code, but we're responsible for the automation code. And so they'll give code review and give recommendations on better ways to do things, better ways to have the code. We fix it, we make sure that the tests pass, and then we merge that way, right? So that is how we do it, right? Like just like Montel Jordan said, all right, this is how we do it, all right? Shout out to the Montel Jordan reference, right? I'm going back to the 90s. All right, let's wrap that one up. All right, we are on our way. We have 2 questions left, right? And I have like 10 minutes before I gotta go, okay? So let's see. Mitch says, yeah, but I am guaranteed the job. Yeah, you better be guaranteed the job for a whole 2-week sprint, right? Shout out to Mitch. Got Mitch doing the whole company's job in 2 weeks just for an interview. Just for an interview, they want you to do a whole 2-week sprint, right? Talk about that. All right, let's get to our next question. But like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell. so you can know every time we go live and drop new content. All right, let's get to our next question of the night.
Another one.
So this question, how can I get the most out of my entry level position? Looking for advice about what to think about when building a career and or growing with a company. So this person is a graphic designer. So graphic designer here. I'm 1 year into my first corporate job after graduating college. Nice. Great job. Just had my yearly performance review and have been asked to provide career goals. I'm the first and only graphic designer at my company, so there's a lot of flexibility to make it what I want, but I'm not sure what I want. Good point. However, I do want to make the most out of it. Just need some direction. I can provide more details if needed. All right. So, the first thing I'm going to suggest, right? Start our clock, right? The first thing I'm going to suggest, talk to your manager, talk to your boss, right? Say, because what I recommend is when you are asked like for goals and stuff like that on the job, because you definitely need to have your own personal goals outside of the company, right? Of where you want to go, where you want to be, right? But when the company is asking you for like, okay, what are your goals here? Like, you want to make sure that your goals are aligned with the company's goals, right? And if the, let's say we'll use, like, we can use any example for this, right? But let's say we'll go with your position as a graphic designer, right? Let's say you are the only graphic designer and you want to so you have flexibility. So I would say so after finding out what the company's goal is, right? What standards do you want to set for the graphic design department at your company? So defining the graphic design culture and standard, how are things going to run? That's one thing that I would be looking for. Right? I would definitely look for that, right? So setting the standard, do you have documentation? When there's new graphic designers that come on, how are you going to onboard them? Right? How are you going to train them? The work that you do, who uses it, right? How do you establish better relationships with those with your stakeholders, right? All those things you got to think about. Very, very important. Now, let's continue. Being that you're 1 year out of college, right? You've been in the job for about a year. And well, so not 1 year out of college, but you've been in your first corporate job for a year after graduating college, right? What you learned in college, how different is it from working in the pretty much the real world, right? And with that, where do you see that you're lacking? Where do you get stuck on? Where do you get confused on? Okay, so now how can you better yourself based on what you're doing on the job? The parts that you struggle with, how can you better yourself, right? So now, what courses can you take? What trainings can you go to? How's your communication skills? Right? All of those things matter. All of those things matter. And that is going to help you do a better job. That's going to help you communicate better. That's going to help you level up so that you can probably go into either lead, if you want to be an individual contributor, go into leadership position, like lead roles, like a lead graphic designer, senior graphic designer, principal graphic designer, or it can help you go into management, like managing a team of graphic designers, right? The ball is in your court, but you definitely want to find out where is the company headed, and what is it that where do you see yourself fitting in? And use those career goals, shape it to the company and shape it to where you want to be. Right? You have like you said, you have a lot of flexibility being the only person there, but you have to look at your performance review, right? Did they say there's anything that you can improve on? Did they say there's anything that they want to see from you? Shape your goals around that. Right? How comfortable are you with like if you're using Photoshop as a graphic designer, right? How comfortable are you with that? Maybe as a graphic designer, you might also be interested in UI UX. Very important things. So you definitely want to consider that as well. Right? So those are the different things. Like when I'm thinking about like career goals and getting the most out, like even like it's not only a question for entry level, it's a question for all levels, right? Whether you are like the director or you're a brand new entry level person, right? You're looking at, okay, what are the needs of the company? Where are things lacking? Where am I lacking, right? One thing I'm always doing is looking for where there's a gap and how I can fill that gap, right? And that's why you see me on this channel every single day, going like learning about Terraform, learning about DevOps, learning about AWS, learning about mobile development, learning about different things in QA, learning how to with my tech barbarians, learning about software engineering, right? Coaching them. Well, like when I'm coaching, then I can help people better at the job as well. You know, so everything that I do, it's going around. It's like the circle of life, right? I'm gonna call it the circle of Ralph, right? Is the things that I do here, they help me on the job. The things that I do on the job, they help me here, and you just have to keep going with that circle. All right. So that being said, we are going to end it for tonight, right? I had one more question left, but we are going to save that one. We're going to table that question for next week. It's going to be a good one. It's going to be about test case documentation. How should we document our test cases, all right? But I'm going to say that for next week, all right? So let's wrap this question up. And I want to say, let's get this off the screen. I want to say thank you so much to everybody who showed up tonight. You guys are very, very appreciated all the time.
I appreciate you.
All right. So thank you so much. And of course, to Mitch, thank you, Mitch, for Mitch. You only had 6 words tonight, and you've been Mitch. You're gonna leave me all together one day, right? But shout out to Mitch as always. Thank you so much for being here. Shout out to Angie and her amazing questions. Shout out to my boy Tony and his amazing jokes and guard play. Shout out to Don, my brother, the person who is behind Chaos Camp GitHub repo. Shout out to Socks, right? We have some new, Socks University should be coming out very, very soon. All right. Shout out to everyone who was hanging out with me today. I really, really appreciate you all. But I got to go. I have got to go. So you guys have a wonderful, wonderful night. And I will be back again in the morning where we're going to be working on some tech stuff. We're going to be working on mobile app development, writing some test cases. And tomorrow, we're going to be touching on our governance for software explorations at noon Eastern time. And I'll be back live again on Thursday night. So just dropping it all out there. Once again, thank you so much. I have a question for you. After I've answered all of your questions, right? I answered all your questions. I have a question for you. What is my question for you? The question is, as always,
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
is this not why you're here? No, you're not here for entertainment. Entertainment is fun, but you're here for all this game, all this knowledge in the tech industry, all right? And I am happy to provide it to you. But you know the deal. You know the deal, because the last thing I want to hear you say is,
I'm in a bind, Nate.
I do not want to hear you saying that you're in a bind, right? I want you to say,
I mean, all we do is win, man. You know that.
another one, right? All we do is win. So with that being said, yesterday's price is not today's price. Today's price is not tomorrow's price. Remember that, because
One more thing. Price of the brick going up.
the price of the brick is going up. All right. On that note, friends, family, I'm going to say good night, right? This is Tech Coach Ralph, and we are out.
You might think that getting into the IT field is impossible without a computer science degree, but but Tech Coach Ralph is here to prove you wrong. Get ready for some jaw-dropping revelations on how to break into this lucrative industry. Listen up, tech enthusiasts! Are you ready to break through into the IT field, but feel like you need a computer science degree to make it happen? Think again! Tech Coach Ralph has some exclusive, mind-blowing secrets to share with you. Get ready to be blown away by his jaw-dropping revelations on how to break into the tech industry without a computer science degree. So get your notepad ready, because Tech Coach Ralph is going to change your life forever. Buckle up, because you're about to embark on a journey to success in the IT field.